343 have officially started to tease the next operation arriving in Halo Infinite, that being Operation Anvil, named after Anvil Station, and we'll speak a bit more about the lore importance of that in a bit. As in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my expectations and hopes for Halo Infinite's next major event. So of course, without wasting any more of your time, let's jump straight in. First of all, let's talk about what we definitely know will happen in this new event, starting of course with a new 20 tier operation pass. Similar to both Tenrai 4 and Banished Honor, this will likely contain 15,000 Spartan points and a handful of new armor pieces, alongside an emblem that you'll likely get on tier 1. The cosmetics that will be in the event pass have already leaked, and I will show them in a moment. However, if you do want to wait, then I would either recommend clicking off this video now or skipping past this part. And it's also worth mentioning some of the items that will likely release in the shop have also already been shown off during some of the promo stuff for the Banished Honor event. Before I show off the pass, I should address the elephant in the room, that being the change in the event. Back before Banished Honor, 343 mentioned the titles for the next 3 major operations, the first of course being Banished Honor, the second being Tenrai 4, and the third one was Spartan Surplus, and this would have given players some Mark IV cosmetics. However, for unknown reasons, this has now been changed entirely. My hope is that the cosmetics that were planned for Spartan Surplus will instead be added to the exchange, since the only new things that were there that were really of any importance were a new helmet and a pair of shoulder pads. And they were the only new pieces of armor that were going to be in that event pass. So the change definitely seems like the right move, though it would have been nice to have those extra free things for the Mark IV core, so I'm hoping that they will instead be added to the exchange, since that is in some dire need of new and fresh items alongside some of the returning stuff. Though if I'm to be entirely honest, I do believe the more likely situation is that they will probably be in a shop bundle. Okay, now let's talk about the Anvil Operation Pass. At tier 1, as mentioned, you get an emblem, this being the Blades and Barbs emblem. The next few tiers give you some Spartan points. After that, you get the Assailer knee pads for the Rakshasa core. Although, of course, shoulders and helmets cross core, every piece of armor from this operation is designed for Rakshasa. The next few tiers once again give you some Spartan points before you unlock the Assailer belt utility piece, followed by some more Spartan points until you finally unlock the Assailer Heartplate chest attachment, which is pretty cool. Again, after unlocking some more Spartan points, you get the Assailer Pauldron shoulder pads. Of course, as already mentioned, these will be cross-core and they look pretty cool. You then get some more Spartan points, followed by the Assailer helmet and the Mimic mask helmet attachment. The items in this event are more so based on elites, whereas with the second Yappening event it was more so based on grunts, and with Banished Honor of course being more so based on the brutes. But this has more of a focus on the Sangheli. If I'm being entirely honest, that isn't very apparent through the armor's design. Personally, I would have preferred the return of something like Helioscrill, though I do believe the Assailer helmet could be based on an elite officer, especially with the way that the horn goes down the helmet, and also the 2 front parts of the helmet almost representing the elite's jaw. And then the Mimic mask attachment does kind of remind me of the faceplates that the Zealots wear too, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the inspiration there. Despite this operation being named Anvil and obviously being centered around Anvil Station, the lore of this armor and the stated manufacturer implies this is all banished armor, as opposed to being a set of armor that was tested or developed at Anvil Station itself. And although I do like how a lot of the banished armor looks, if I'm being honest, another banished armor event pass would not have been my first choice. Despite that, I don't think this pass is terrible, and some of the armor pieces do of course look pretty cool, though it is clear there is still a lot of filler, just this time disguised as Spartan points, which I don't think will be as bad if there is some cool new additions to the exchange. Early promo images indicate that we might actually be getting Din's coating in the exchange, a coating that players have obviously wanted since Season 2, and I really do hope that is the case. It's also worth mentioning, although there isn't any official statement on what the purchase bonus of this operation will be, there is a chance that it will be a new weapon model for the Spanker. Of course, there is still a large chance that this might not be the case, so do take that with a large grain of salt, but if it is this weapon model, it's one that will make the Spanker look much more like a Covenant or Banished weapon, and since the premium version of these operation passes only cost 500 credits, this might be something that I consider picking up, since I do still have some leftover credits. Other than everything I've already mentioned, there isn't really anything that we know about this new event, so pretty much everything going forward is purely speculation. With almost every prior operation, we have had the release of a new map. whether they be additions made by the community, by 343, or by partner developers like Sperasoft. And that might also be the case with Anvil too. Once again, going back to the customization blog post for Banished Honor, you'll notice that the Spartans in the image here appear to be standing on what looks to be a remake of Relic from Halo 2. We've heard no official mention of this map yet, but it does clearly exist, and I think that releasing it during this next event would make a lot of sense, as they usually do tend to release with a little bit more than just cosmetics. However, I'm not sure if this will release at the beginning or later half of the event like we saw with Corrosion during Yappening, a map that was supposed to release early on within that event's time frame, but didn't end up coming out until one of the final weeks. I also think there is a possibility that we see some sort of new game mode or playlist. We had the BTB Heavies refresh during Banished Honor, as well as the Survive the Undead Community Workshop, and during Tenrai 4 we saw the return of Juggernaut alongside Ninjanaut, and more recently have just seen the release of the multi-team playlist. If we could get an entirely new game mode like Assault or VIP, that would be really cool. Or maybe some fun, silly playlist like Action Sack. I would also appreciate it if Juggernaut was added to Rumble Pit or kept its own playlist, since with the release of Multi-Team, I'm pretty sure that Juggernaut, for now, has been removed. And I really want to be able to play that mode just on some other maps, not exclusively the Tenrai ones, because although I didn't think they were bad, I did keep getting the same map over and over again, which did start to make the mode feel quite repetitive. I'm also assuming that we'll see the release of some brand new store bundles, which is pretty much expected with all of these operations at this point. But the one set of armor that I can almost guarantee is a set of Banished gear for the Mark 7 that was used on some of the promotional material for Banished Honor, most notably the community livestream, with this helmet specifically looking like it could be inspired by either a Brute or an Elite. And this armor, of course, never released, so I do think it's entirely possible that's been saved for the Anvil operation instead. And alongside the store rotation, once again, like I've already mentioned, we'll probably see some new stuff added to the exchange. So far, both the two prior operations have included things from an event that feels a bit more relevant to those. With Banished Honor, they brought back some Yappening stuff, which of course does have some level of ties to the Banished since it's based on Yap Yap, a playable Banished leader in Halo Wars 2, and for Tenrai 4 they brought some cosmetics back from the first Tenrai event. With this one, I'm going to take the assumption that we'll see some stuff for the Rakshasa core make its way to the exchange, either from the Interference or Alpha Pack events. Basing that on the assumption that the new armor we're getting is of course for that core, and with there also being that possibility of Din's coating finally making its way to the game, it would be nice if we saw the return of something like the Morrigan helmet. And maybe in terms of new stuff, they might finally add those sniper bullet shoulder pads for Rakshasa that we've seen in multiple trailers and have still never made their way to the game. It would be really appreciated to get some new kind of sandbox edition or balance patch. At this point, I'd take just a couple new weapon variants, though the odds of that are pretty unlikely. And with that, that's pretty much everything that I could expect or hope for with Anvil, at least in regards to things that I could see happening in-game. Operation Anvil is of course based on Anvil Station, as I already mentioned in the beginning of the video. However, what is Anvil Station? Anvil is a secret UNSC space station that is used by both Spartan 4s and the Sangheli, specifically the Swords of Sanghelios, in which they of course run combat exercises and war games, where they also test different technology such as new weapons and armor. One of the updates that we had for Master Chief Collection in Halo 3 was also based on Anvil, and this gave us a ton of new Halo 3 armor, which was supposed to be earlier versions of a lot of the armor sets that we'd seen in Halo 4 and 5, including sets like Warrior or Soldier. With this of course being the context behind Anvil, I would see it being pretty likely that we do get a new Waypoint chronicle that gives us some lore on whatever's going on at Anvil Station at this current time. I would prefer some in-game cutscenes, and I know a lot of people who are aware of what Anvil Station is are of course going to hope for playable elites, which I definitely don't think is going to happen, as cool as that would be. It would be really cool as well if this meant that we'd get a map based on Anvil Station, maybe even an invasion type game mode that, since they don't have playable elites, would be 2 teams of Spartans. However, thanks to the Forge AI, it could be where one team is paired up with different Marines and one pair is teamed up with various Banished troops too. Do I think we'll get a mode like this? Again, probably not, but it would be nice. The station itself, I believe, had a lot of importance to Halo Online, so that could maybe indicate that we'd see a remake of a Halo Online map like Waterfall or Edge that we've also seen in Halo 3, which I do think are much more plausible than something like Playable Elite or a huge new game mode. Either way, it'll be cool to get a lore update on the station itself, and fingers crossed the operation brings some cool content to the game and more than just cosmetics. Either way, I'm curious what you all have to say. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.